Okay, we're talking to Marilyn Miller of the Sun to Moon Gallery. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
Now, you've got a Charles Cramer exhibit starting this weekend, right?
Yes.
And tell us briefly about Charles Cramer and his forte.
Charles Cramer has been written up several times by many different people as one of the greatest landscape photographers in the world. He was a master dye transfer artist and then got into digital printing. And he actually became friends with Bill Atkins, one of the original founders of the Macintosh computer. And through that relationship, a lot of color photography and color printmaking has evolved. Mm-hmm. And in fact, probably 10 years ago, color photographs would start fading pretty rapidly. And now with the new printmaking techniques and these are pigmented ink prints, so instead of just being ink, they have pure pigment in them. Mm-hmm. But with that new technique, some of the 5-year-old prints were rated at about 70 years before there's any color shifting at all. Mm-hmm. And with some of the latest printmaking techniques, some of them are rated up to 120 years before you see any color shifting. So it's just a huge difference.
Yeah.
One of the other things that came out of that relationship is that there used to be only one black. And just within recent years, there are now 3 blacks. And if you think about it, especially in nature, where you're looking at like depth of field and different textures and wood grains and things like that, the 3 different blacks can really make a difference with that feeling of being able to walk into an image.
Sure, subtle shading.
Mm-hmm.
How common is it for an artistic photographer to be doing his own printing? Is it pretty much the only way to go these days?
It's pretty much the only way to go. All of the artists that we represent in our gallery are hands-on from start to finish. All of the images that we sell are taken by the photographer, prepared by the photographer, and printed by the photographer, and mounted, and then signed, matted, and mounted. Mm-hmm.
Now, I was reading the bio, and there's a lot of similarities between Mr. Cramer and Ansel Adams.
Yes.
Both from an artistic standpoint and from, strangely enough, the biographical background. But who else in contemporary landscape photography do we compare Cramer's work to?
Oh, goodness. I'm trying to think who else. Because Charles Cramer is a West Coast landscape photographer. And so he has a West Coast landscape feel to it, as opposed to like Allison Shaw, who I consider really fabulous. In fact, she's one of our new artists, but she is an East Coast landscape photographer, mm-hmm. and her work has a completely different feel to it, but it's still that same quality from start to finish. Right. You know what I'm saying?
So what about a photographic print raises it to the level of art, something that gets hung in a gallery like yours?
Well, there's a huge quality issue. It's interesting to me because there are a lot of really great photographers, but it's being able to take it all the way from making a really great image, but then making a great image larger. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have a great image that looks great as an 8 by 10. It's another thing to have a great image and have it look this fabulous in a 28 by 35 or a 30 by 40. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference in there.
Yeah. Now, what about black and white? I realize, that's...
We have some.
Do you? I mean,
yes.
Do people still do wonderful new artistic things with black and white photography?
Yeah. In fact, there are some pieces hanging kind of in the back somewhere. Mm-hmm. And there's a little piece right over on the wall over there that is actually, it's a platinum print, printed on vellum with a gold leaf backing on it. Uh-huh. And that is a show of Dan Burkholder's that we're going to have here in April.
How important to you as a gallery owner and operator is the pedigree of the artist? Do you ever just find somebody who's no name and yet you find his work good enough to view, or?
I wish that we could do that. I mean, and it's one thing to view it, but I wish that we could afford to do that.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, the gallery business is a partnership between us and the photographer. And how do I say it? First of all, the North Texas area is not all that familiar, nor do we have that much exposure to really great photography. So a big part of our job as a gallery is educating the public on what really great photography is. We're not, even though we've been in business, we're headed into our 9th year, we're not at a point where we can do a completely unknown and still bring people in.
Sure.
And unfortunately, we have to make a profit.
Well, that's the way business goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today's high-end, high-resolution cameras, many of them incorporate a video technology. Do you see, as an artist's representative, any future for video as a medium for artistic presentation?
Oh, absolutely, and there are numerous examples of video as an artistic. I mean, the PBS series, I think, that came out with Ken Burns and Dayton Duncan that produced that. I think that's a really great example of that, the beauty of nature, for an example. I think there are other opportunities like that. I know, in fact, Scott travels with a broadcast quality camera and does cinematography along with photography. I think doing both jointly, I think there's room for that.
So you could see an installation at some point of a video display.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
The lines are blurring.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So what other exciting exhibits are coming up in weeks and months to come at Sun to Moon?
Well, in February, mid-February, we will have a Scott Miller exhibition, Europe. Italy, France, south of France, some beautiful south of France areas with the lavender and all. And then mid-April is going to be the piece I was telling you about, which is Dan Burkholder, and some new work that he's doing. And it's platinum prints with gold leaf backing. And they're really spectacular little jewels that you really should come and see.
Great. Now, why should people come out and visit with Charles Cramer while he's here this weekend? What's the big draw?
It's really, he is one of the experts in the field. And he is a kind and generous and, well, first of all, he's a nice and funny man, but he's really kind and generous with his knowledge.